welcome.
What are we going to listen to today?
Today we are joined with DJ producer Ciel.
Hi.
And we're going to be listening to her DJ blend.
Let's give it a listen.
What an amazing set you just did for us!
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ciel. That was phenomenal. We are so blessed to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
I want to begin by asking you, how has your relationship with listening changed since becoming a DJ?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. I feel like I'm a better listener than I've ever been, because when you're DJing, that's really the art of listening. I learned through years of doing this that listening it goes beyond like how good your hearing is. It's actually a skill, right? Like being able to pinpoint specifically what you're listening for. Because a lot of times when you're mixing two tracks, it's hard to tell which one is falling out of sync, which one is going too fast, which one is too slow. And really you're training your ears to pinpoint which is which. And that is like the art of listening in a sort of almost like a searching kind of way. You're listening for something specific. You're not listening to everything. And in fact, part of that skill is learning to tune things out. But on the flip side of things, once I became a professional DJ, and I've been doing this for a decade now, I feel like my relationship with listening for pleasure kind of changed in a negative way. I became a DJ because I had a passion for music my whole life. And I'm sure you can relate to this where ever since I was a little kid, I was obsessed with listening to music, not go to sleep, listening to my Walkman. I would do anything for music. I'm always making work or listening to music, digging for music, doing stuff like in search of new music so that when I have some downtime, I'm not necessarily like, I'm going to listen to some more music, A lot of times I'm like, I need to give my ears a break.
That's really interesting. As I'm hearing you talk, it's making me think about and I'm curious, your relationship with listening and then your relationship with silence. Because it sounds like that is actually a part where you really ground yourself in.
Yeah, I mean, I love silence. It took me a really long time to appreciate silence. Without silence almost makes you appreciate music more. And as being an artist, musician, we're all about intentional listening, right? I don't want to hear stuff that I didn't choose to put on. And living in a city like where I live, there's a lot of non-consensual music that I have to listen to, non-consensual noise, and sometimes I just want peace.
Yeah.
So
fair. I love that answer. Okay, I'm curious. What is something you hear in dance music that some people might miss?
When they think of dance music, people who don't listen to dance music, And I have a lot of experience with that because I'm in a relationship with someone who does not like dance music at all. And he often complains that it's like repetitive or it's just the same thing happening the whole way. And I think what people miss about dance music is the intricacies and the subtle changes that are happening throughout the track. And it is kind of something that requires active, deep listening from the viewers. Dance music, like one of the records I played is basically a bass line and some drums and some vocals. They might listen to that and be like, this is so boring. It's like the same loop replayed 8 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
But what you're going for, is sort of pulling people into this groove, this trance, and you do want repetition to do that. But then when you're in kind of engaged with the music and you're in like this groove or whatever, you of course will hear the subtle changes because you're fully like engaged with this movement, which is not just like the music itself, but also the collective movement of the dance floor. I mean, this might be a huge oversimplification, but all music is a form of call and response, and dance music is no different. You have something that happens early on, and then later on, that same thing might be repeated, but slightly differently. It might be an octave higher, or it could be half time or double time. And we play with those kind of conventions in dance music just as we do in pop music. I think people miss those sort of dynamics and changes and things coming in, things coming out.
And I love what you talked about transitions. I think transitions are, I think in any kind of music, my favorite thing to listen for. What is something you had to unlearn as an artist?
Being super, super hypercritical as a lover of music growing up, and specifically being like a music snob. Which I can admit that about myself. I kind of grew up in music message forums, and like I grew up listening to, indie rock bands. That was my personality. I definitely thought I was like the music girl, and like none of my friends in high school listened to the same music as me, and that was definitely my whole personality. And as you get older, at least for me, I really had to unlearn this sort of like, this music is good and this music is bad, and my opinion matters more than anyone else, when at the end of the day, music is subjective. Our opinions are really just a reflection of our own knowledge and experience. There were a lot of styles of music that I, dismissed. As I got older, my ears grew, and I was exposed to new music.
What's something that was you revisited?
Well, this is gonna sound crazy. In university, I was really into soul and funk and Motown. And for a while, I actually had like a monthly soul night, DJ night. And I was never really into disco. I actually was like, ugh, I don't really get it. I know it doesn't make any sense. How do you like soul and funk, but you don't like disco? I really was not into disco for years. But then as I got into house music, and I was really into house music, it made me listen to disco in a different way. And then I grew to love disco and played disco for a number of years. Falling in love with house made me kind of have new appreciation for disco, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and like following the lineage.
Yeah. Being really critical is like the kiss of death when you want to create something, right? Like when you're in the studio, you can't be like, oh, that's a stupid idea, or like, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's dumb. Because like there are no dumb ideas, right? Like you're trying all sorts of different things, especially when you're starting out, you're less experienced, less knowledgeable. Part of producing and making music is playing, experimenting, having fun, trying out ideas that doing things that you never thought you would do.
I know that you studied music. This is kind of a random question, but what has studying music taught you that doesn't have anything to do with music?
I think is like dedication and like self-discipline. I think in the world of DJing and electronic music, because it's fun, I feel like it's hard to kind of put your head down and really just like, because we associate it with fun, partying, and like letting loose, we don't really think about it, at least when I was doing it as like a hobby. It was hard to motivate myself, especially when you're learning something as an adult, because I only started producing music in my 30s. And when I started, it was like, oh God, I have to study again. Am I like back to that again? Only working on it like a couple of times a week. And then it would just take a really long time to retain anything I was learning. When I used to play the piano as a kid, my parents were really strict and I would have to practice like 4 hours a day. The thing that I had to process with myself that it's not a bad thing to put time in and dedication. I told myself that I need to work on Ableton every day. Being type A, quite type A, I am usually sort of, I have a schedule every day. I have to do this, do this, do this. And
Yeah.
I think having that organized self-discipline is how I've been able to get to this place in like 10 years. Also, I fought very hard to get here. So.
Yeah. No, congratulations. I
Thanks.
mean, it sounds like you have the discipline that a lot of us are striving to
Yeah, but
achieve.
I think I'm still struggling in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, and it's a daily battle. You know, I would
Yeah.
love to just sit on my couch and watch Real Housewives for 8 hours, but I can't do that.
Yeah. Can you tell us a record that fundamentally changed the way you listen to music?
I think it's Altecker Tri Repete. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Okay.
When I was younger, I really hated electronic music because it was the 90s. My exposure to electronic music was like La Bouche. I never thought I would be into this, you know? And then towards the end of high school, I started to listen to more like Warp records, but I was exposed to it because of Radiohead. I was a huge Radiohead fan, and my favorite Radiohead, I almost got a Radiohead tattoo when I was 18, but I didn't. But at the time, my favorite Radiohead records were the more electronic ones. Kid A is my favorite Radiohead album, but Kid A is not really dance music. You know, you've got elements, but it's still a rock album. Through that, it exposed me to kind of other British artists. But I remember the track Clipper by Altecker from that album. It really made me kind of appreciate sort of vocalist electronic music that still had dynamics and intrigue. Up until that point, I only listened really primarily to music with lyrics. Other than post-rock, my relationship with music, what you get out of music that is not, before that it was like something that you would sing along to, you know, and like, but now it was like something that would soundtrack my life.
I know what you mean. Sometimes you like listen to music that doesn't have lyrics and you're like,
you can fill in the blanks.
You're like in a
movie, yeah.
Like even the most mundane moment, you're looking at it with the soundtrack and you're like, wow.
I have this memory of listening to Clipper by Altecker when I was like maybe 18, and I remember taking the subway into the city, and I had my like headphones on and I was just like feeling myself. I felt like I was in a music video.
It's so cool. I love music that like puts you in like an atmosphere, because it's not like lyrics that are telling you how it's like literally just
it's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
Yeah,
there's no other way to put it. Xiao, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm working on my next solo EP. I'm working on a new sample pack for Splice, so look out for that. Otherwise, I'm just, you know, trucking along, playing shows, buying records, and hopefully see you in a city near you.